So a friend of yours has asked you to come out on his job site. Maybe he has his own company, or maybe he just kind of does some work on the side, and he's doing something, relatively dangerous. Something where you got to get up probably on a ladder and, expose yourself to some danger. Is that a good idea to do that from a workers' compensation type perspective? I'm Joe Miller, workers' compensation attorney in Virginia and North Carolina. And what I want to talk to you about today is three different situations, work situations that, from my perspective, as a workers' compensation attorney, it will be a nightmare to get into, especially if you got severely injured. Now, I'm just preface this, I know it's hard. You can't just go around to every single person and, hey, do you have workers' compensation coverage? Just want to make sure. So I get that, but I'm just, I feel like it's my duty to let you know about these risks so that you know what you're getting yourself into, because I've just seen this bite people so many times. I'm going to talk about three different situations that you really want to try to avoid getting into if you can. All right, first one is where I said a friend of yours or an acquaintance says, hey, I got a job I'm doing out here. Why don't you come out here with me and give me a hand? So here's the first thing you need to know. Unless that business has voluntarily covered themselves, in other words, bought workers' compensation insurance, or they're obligated to cover themselves, then if you get hurt on the job, you're not going to be covered. So who is obligated under Virginia and North Carolina law to cover themselves with workers' compensation insurance and cover their employees, folks working with them? If you have less than 3 employees who are regularly working in the business, that business does not have to have workers' compensation insurance. They're not obligated to carry workers' compensation insurance. So if you get on the job site and you see that kind of situation, it's one guy, you might want to ask them. Now, they can buy workers' compensation insurance if they want to, but they're not obligated to carry it. So you may want to ask before you get on the job, you got workers' compensation insurance, right? And ask them to show you the certificate, because you get out there and get hurt, he's not obligated to have anything, you're in trouble. Second situation is you're working for an employer now, or maybe you're fixing to work for an employer, and they do have quite a few folks working for them. So you might want to ask them, hey, just want to know, do you guys have workers' compensation insurance? And you may be surprised to find that this is what's going to come out of the boss's mouth. He's going to say, I don't need to carry workers' compensation on you or anybody that's out here. Why? Because you are all subcontractors. And that may be the first time you've heard that. But many employers operate under this false assumption that everybody that's on the job site, if they call them subcontractors, then they're subcontractors. Well, the truth of the matter is that is not the way workers' compensation law works. That if you're coming out there every day, if you really don't have any other jobs, you got to show up at a specific time. The company has rules to follow, and the employer is providing all the equipment, whatever job it is, and you're just showing up to do the work that they ask you to do each and every day. And guess what? You and everybody else out there that's being treated like that is an employee, and will be considered an employee for workers' compensation purposes. So the problem is that in North Carolina, if he ain't got workers' compensation coverage, you're out. Even if you get hurt, even if he was supposed to, now he's going to get in trouble. It doesn't help you. You're not going to get paid. In Virginia, we're going to talk about this at the end. You do have a little backup. There is a state plan that will give you a little backup if your employer was obligated to carry workers' compensation insurance but did not have any. The last situation is you have your own business. You have your own contracting outfit, or you're a subcontractor yourself, and you want to cover yourself with workers' compensation insurance. You have got to make sure that policy, the way it's written, you specifically ask to have yourself included on the policy. Why? Because in Virginia, it is assumed that you, as the owner of the company, are excluded from the policy. You're not on the policy unless you specifically ask to be included. The last thing I want to talk to you about is what I said a minute ago about the backup that you have in Virginia, not in North Carolina. Virginia has something called the Uninsured Employers Fund, UEF, and in situations where an employer was obligated to carry coverage and didn't have it for workers' comp, they will step into the shoes of the employer and will cover you. Downside is you're probably going to have to go to a hearing. They generally will not agree to settle or agree to pay benefits without you proving your case. So you'll probably need a lawyer. Finally, there's one final thing I just want to also let you know. If you're working for an employer who's a subcontractor on a job, And generally, even if they don't have coverage, if there's a general contractor, a larger contractor that is over a contract, the person you're working for directly, then they're obligated to provide coverage on the whole job. So you're considered what's called a statutory employee of the general contractor or whatever contractor is above your direct employer. I hope this has been helpful to you and informative. If you have any more questions about workers' compensation in Virginia and North Carolina, please don't hesitate to give us a call. This has been Joe Miller, workers' compensation attorney in Virginia, North Carolina. I thank you for watching today. Have a wonderful day. Joe out.